I think I'm just gonna hold what I got until
you need to.
Till I need to.
Yeah.
Until she says, "Hey, you need to go."
Way to go.
Yeah, I mean, my life's good here.
I didn't mean you can't wear a hat.
No. I didn't take it like that.
Don't wear a hat.
I didn't take it like that.
I don't know why I'm doing that.
I don't know. I didn't take it like that.
Hey,
I'll wear a fucking hat if I want to wear a hat, buddy.
I didn't mean to like yuck your yum. Yeah.
Thankfully, you don't know what we're getting down on. Welcome to Life's Greatest Hits. I'm Jason Earle.
And I am Jordan Foley.
Here's how it goes. We do a vinyl swap each month where we lend each other a physical copy of an album from our personal collection, particularly one the other guy hasn't heard or doesn't know that well. We each spend the entire month listening to the album, do our research, jot down our thoughts, then get together to discuss each record. The conversation could go anywhere, but we'll mainly be focusing on what we think of the album, our takeaways, what we learned, and where the listening took us. We'll give each other half the time of the episode to talk about the albums we were given, and then go from there. I am so excited for this one, buddy.
This is a good one. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
We're in it. I know it's a little late to say Happy New Year, but I feel like it's still...
January, that the longest month.
Worst month of our
worst
month of our country, our lives. We're fucked.
It's been we are fucked. So let's just have some fun today.
Yeah.
Man, what have you? I know that you have a bunch going on. Tell the people what you got going on.
I do have a lot going on.
Jesus Christ,
it's cool stuff. Cool stuff. So, as I mentioned in the last our last episode, I am going on the road with John Moreland. But before I get into that. I do want to just give a couple other nods for shows. Upcoming February 1st at the Timucua Arts Foundation. I am playing in a singer-songwriter round with Kaylee Baker and Hannah Stokes and the Mudita Orchestra. It's pretty wild. I never thought that I'd be playing my original music with an orchestra. Because it's the Timucua Arts Foundation. It's not easy to say quickly. I'm hoping they record it because that'd be great. But the next show after that, February 21st at Will's Pub here in Orlando with Mr. Tim Barry.
Hell yeah.
And Jordan Schneider. Tyler Hood will be joining me for that one. Very excited about that. Tickets are available now for all these shows that I'm talking about, by the way. And then I'm going on the road with John Moreland. I'm playing a bunch of Florida shows, 4 Florida shows. We got the Blue Jay Listening Room in Jacksonville Beach, which has sold out.
Awesome.
It is sold out.
Awesome.
The next show would be in Gainesville at Heartwood Soundstage. Tickets are available for that. This is February 25th and 26th for those shows.
These are great rooms too, folks.
It's wild.
Like it'd be worth traveling if you live outside of Florida to see these shows. It really is.
I mean, these are my favorite venues in Florida. And being being here and having played all over, I'm just honored that I got tapped, to play these. And then the next one, February 27th, will be at my stomping grounds, my home base, or my former home base, Sanford, Florida, at Tuffy's Music Box, February 27th. And then the last one will be March 8th at Safety Harbor Art and Music Center over in Safety Harbor, which is near Tampa and
cool
Clearwater. So I have those going on. And then after that, I am working on a small Southeastern tour with Darren Bradbury. Who's a friend. He's become a new friend of mine after the John Prine show in Nashville. You Got Gold last October. Darren and I have been hard at work, so putting this together. Right now, we have the Orlando date. We were playing at Judson's Live at the Dr. Phillips Center on Wednesday, March 19th. And then we'll be trying to add dates. We are currently adding dates after that.
Damn it, I'm out of town that day.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I'm going to see Isbell.
Well, yeah, I mean,
solo.
Okay, that checks out. But yeah, have that going on. I also just announced that the band is still, the Wheelhouse and I are still kicking. We're firing on all cylinders, but moving forward, I don't know why I can't talk today. Moving forward, we are going to be just going under my name, Jordan Foley. That's a pretty big deal for me. It wasn't an easy decision because I've always wanted to have a band name, but ultimately. In order to gain the following, try to make it more my career in the long run, I needed to address that all the music that I do should be in one place for easier access. But on top of that, I also just claimed the Jordan Foley Instagram handle. So I'm just Jordan Foley on Instagram right now, which is pretty fucking crazy. I offered to an Australian version of myself, Jordan Foley. Shout out, mate, over in Australia.
Thanks,
Thank
Jordan.
you for being so gracious to give me my handle. So thank you. So yeah, that's what I have going on. How about you, man?
Dude, so much. I'm excited for a lot of those shows that you're playing. I'm definitely grateful for the reminder for the Timuquoa show. I need to get tickets to that. And then I got my ticket for Toughies for you and John.
Dope.
And I'll go ahead and say this now. John's partner, Pearl, who's a artist and does a lot of merch for some of your favorite artists, we're going to sit down and have a conversation. So
hell yeah.
She's going to be on the Marinade.
While you talk with Pearl, maybe we talk to her about working on our logos.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Hell yeah.
Look at that.
Nice.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm stoked. We connected on Instagram, and John and I have connected quite a bit since he was on the Marinade with Jason Earle, my main gig, and I got a lot of cool stuff with that as well, y'all. I started a new YouTube series where I just talk about records. It's real informal and chill. I just sit basically right here and talk about records, and it's been a lot of fun. So check that out. Subscribe to the Marinade podcast on YouTube so that you don't miss any of those. I've done some of my favorites already, including Shooter Jennings, Black Ribbons, which of course we talked about on this show. Honky Tonk Heroes by Waylon Jennings, which we talked about on this show. So all kinds of cool stuff. And I have 2 feature episodes of The Marinade that just recently were released that I'm very proud of. One of them is Justin Bloss, who has kind of taken me and my circle of friends by storm with his record Claymore.
Yeah, he's real good.
So good and such a sweet guy. Really
nice.
Interesting guy.
Yeah.
Like really, really interesting dude. And I'm so excited for him and the attention he's been getting. So check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, Nick Gussman of Nick Gussman and the Coyotes and his own solo work. We had a great conversation and really connected. I know that Jordan, you've been listening to him a lot.
I have been. It's all thanks to your recommendation. I was going on my daily walk a couple weeks ago, and I came across American Nightmare.
Yeah.
Right? And just absolutely loved it. So I took a dive into their newest album, and it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then so is your episode with Nick. So
Thank you.
You guys talk a lot about a lot of really cool things, gave me a lot of insight and ideas. So, yeah, man, great episodes. I can't wait to listen to the Justin Bloss episode. Big fan of his. He and I become friends recently. So, yeah, man, that's great. You're killing it.
Thanks. Yeah, lots of cool stuff. And then the last thing I'd say that I've got going on right now is I've just been playing my songs a lot. And I've been getting up and playing and writing. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be, and that's going to be kind of inform a lot of our conversation about the record that I gave you. Records. I have a gig out of Orlando. My first gig outside the city limits of Orlando. Actual gig, not me playing an open mic, but like I got invited to play. So I'm going to be playing at the Silver Cow, which is a bar I used to go to all the time in Jacksonville when I lived there. It's in Murray Hill in Jacksonville, so that's on February 22nd.
I'll talk for
Thanks,
that,
man.
Dude. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's so rad.
I never thought ever when I started doing this as a serious hobby that I'd be getting asked to play other places. I just thought I'd probably be at my local bar playing every once in a while or playing open mics, and now now I got invited to go play. So I'm really excited about it.
That's so great, man. All you got to do is just put yourself out there. I've been saying that. That is my biggest, my motto is you got to go with your hustle. You got to hustle the shit out of what you want to do, and to get asked is the biggest compliment.
Oh, it's huge, man!
It's so
and
big.
What it did a big thing for me is I don't have any illusions about how good or not good I am, but I do know that I'm getting over my imposter syndrome.
That's big,
and that's huge.
It is huge because again, we could spend the whole episode talking about this.
Yeah,
but you need to write songs and play songs that you're enjoying.
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest takeaways that I've ever been given was you need to enjoy the work that you're doing. I know Rick Rubin says stuff like that, and it kind of comes off like a little bit too much from Rick Rubin when he says stuff like that. Yeah. But he's right. I mean, you want to be able. You should be proud of what you do. I listen to my music all the time. I'm like, well, I'm making it so that I can enjoy it.
Dude, I get my songs stuck in my head all the time, and that's what it's all about.
Especially when I'm writing we're writing songs. So I have this. I'm working on a new song with Tyler right now called "Sweet Pain," And it's about an anxiety attack that I had
Oh,
recently. Yeah,
uh-huh.
we'll dive in personally
Oh,
and talk
man,
about it some
yeah,
more.
that's lunch conversation.
But the hook is like, it just stays with me.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I'm very
Ooh.
excited about where we're heading with that. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in, dude.
Real quick before we do, we are not sponsored on this podcast at all, but we're trying to get some folks to help us out. So I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Two Roads Hat Company. I'm wearing one of their hats right now that I've had for a handful of years, and we've been talking. They sent me and the band a bunch of hats for free, like a couple trucker hats for all of us to wear.
Cool.
So I'm really excited. So, this is an unofficial shout out to Two Roads Hat Company. So if you are into hats and cool hats, check them out.
That hat is so cool, and I swoon. I'm a hat guy.
Yeah.
I swoon every time their social media feed comes across my feed. I'm always like, oh, I want that one. I want that one. I want that one.
Yeah.
I want that one.
I have three.
Oh,
I have
man.
3 different hats
Yeah.
from them. So yeah, just a quick shout out. Maybe if we talk it into existence.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, let's dive in, man.
All right, so I gave you kind of a big assignment again. Of course I did. I gave you the songs of Jason Molina. It was Triumph We Once Proposed, where Glen Hansard sings Jason Molina. And for context, since I knew Molina wasn't necessarily someone that you'd been listening to, I gave you his Pyramid Electric Company record, which has been a constant companion for me. So what'd you think, buddy?
I don't even know where to begin. Like, I wrote down notes to kind of map out where I want to go with this.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, just in terms of Jason Molina, his voice is like somebody that I feel like I should have known, or I did know, but I never really tapped into knowing his music. But the truth is, I've never really heard of him. So taking a deep dive into an artist who can make such an impact with his songwriting, posthumously, like he passed away. It really took me by surprise in a great way. But
Cool.
the best way that I can really go into this is first by dissecting the EP that you gave me, because ultimately I'm a huge Glen Hansard fan. I obviously first heard of Glen Hansard by watching the movie Once. One of my favorite movies of all time. The music is amazing. The acting is even better. Like it's just an all around good story. Like when he sings, he's busking at night and he's just playing his originals, but during the day he was playing covers. Like, I could talk all day about Glen Hansard alone. I had the opportunity to see Glenn and his band at Bonnaroo in 2013. It was amazing. One of the best shows that I saw that year, and like I saw a lot of really great shows that year. So overall, big Glen Hansard fan. Swell season, big fan. Love their music. Listen to Glenn a lot. So this was overall a really good assignment for those multitude of reasons. The fact that I didn't really know Jason Molina and his catalog so much, and then also diving into Glen Hansard and his connection to Jason Molina. So, ultimately, like, the first thing I want to say is I was really surprised that you gave me the EP first, or as the main focal point, the Glen Hansard covers, because knowing you, Jason Earle, you are not the biggest fan of cover songs.
I'm not.
Yeah, it's just not your thing. Like, you are a firm believer in the original song. Especially if somebody wrote it, or even if they wrote it for somebody else to record and release, like, that's with intent. And so I know that, like, in terms of your musical taste, that's something that you really take a lot of pride in.
Yeah.
So the fact that you gave me an EP of all covers really showed the level of passion that you have towards Jason Molina, that, like, you love him so much that you knew giving me a Glen Hansard record singing Jason Molina songs would connect with me better. And I commend you for that. So overall, just got to say, this is a great assignment. I really love diving in to all of this. Now, the funny thing about Glen Hansard's EP, which is titled, it was Triumph We Once Proposed, Songs of Jason Molina. I heard this EP before.
Oh.
Because I was a Glen Hansard fan, when he released it, I was like, oh, I want to check this out. And I remember listening to these songs, but I did not realize that they were not his songs. So even if the title said Songs of Jason Molina, I had no idea. So hearing it, I was like, oh man, like I really like the direction that Glen's going. Like, oh man, he's got some good songs. This is good shit. Come to find it's not even his. So I didn't know that. So going into all of these songs, individually, I really wanted to dive further into Jason Molina. So, I realized, like I said, that this is not necessarily just about Glen Hansard. So I could spend all this time on Glen Hansard, but the story isn't about him, right? It's about his affection towards Jason Molina, which has created an affection from me towards Jason Molina. So that's kind of what I want to dive into.
Cool.
And you were setting me up for this. I knew you fucking were.
Yeah.
So
who, me?
So ultimately I wanted to talk first about how they were long distance friends. That they knew each other. I believe they went on tour a little bit. You gave me an article because I was asking you for more content regarding Jason Molina, what I could learn about him. You gave me an Up Rocks article, but I also found
Stephen Hyden.
Yeah, Stephen Hyden, shout out. And I'll get into that in a second. But I also found one from the Indiana Public Library article where Glen dives into why he did this and why he wanted to release these songs. Ultimately, he said, and I just want to quote it. He said, quote, "I was just so moved by the odd kind of Civil War nature of these songs." He said, in the spirit of Jason, we went and booked a studio and we kind of grieved over the music. It was beautiful. He had given all of his band members kind of gifts in the last time he had seen most of them. He was just handing stuff away. And he'd given me a box of things, lyrics and paintings that he had done. He always was a great artist. For the cover of this record that we're putting out, we used one of the drawings. It was wonderful to get into the studio. He goes on and on to talk about, their relationship and the music. He talks about it having a strange, transcendent nature. When it's great, it just goes above and beyond lyric, recording device, instrument. It goes beyond all of those things and turns into a feeling. And when a feeling hits you, that's what you honor. You honor the feeling. So it's so wild because, again, listening to these songs by Glen, you get a sense of how he's making them his own. Glen has the capability to make a song sound like it's his. That's kind of what that's why I mentioned, like, when I first heard this back when it was released, I was like, well, these sound like a cool direction that Glen's going with that. To then dive into Jason Molina's tracks, which I did. I didn't do a fully deep dive. Like there's a lot of content. Yeah. There's a lot of songs. He has, Ohio, which was one of his groups. He has the Magnolia Electric Company, which was another one of his groups that he named. Or was it all the same? I don't know. But like, there's so much to just dive into with Jason Molina.
Just quickly, it is all
sure.
the same. He just puts different names on it.
I knew
and there are different players.
Yeah.
So like, for example, I'm looking right now. When you walked in, I was playing Magnolia Electric Company, the album, which is credited to Songs Ohio.
Yeah.
So then I have a Songs Ohio record right here too. So anyway.
And that's funny, but you mentioned that because if you had given me that album alone, we still would be having this completely blown out discussion about Jason Molina's catalog.
Yeah.
Because I think it transcends into everything that he did accomplish in the time that he made music.
Yeah.
He has such an interesting way of writing lyrics and the way he sings them. He has this hopefulness, but also like total dread. And like when you combine the two polar opposite factors into one style of singing or one style of writing, it blows you. It blows me away. It literally takes me to another place of like, how the hell did this guy do it? So after listening to the Glen Hansard EP, recognizing it, remembering the music, I then did listen to the other record you gave me of Jason Molina's to listen to, Pyramid Electric Company, which was honestly. It broke my heart for lack of better terms, but ultimately it was just him. It was just him. It was him and a guitar, a really gritty, weird sounding guitar style. I mean, the dude has such a a unique way of playing.
Yeah.
His music on that album was eerie and hollow.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like when I first started listening to it, I was like, this is exactly, it sounds eerie, it sounds hollow, but it is full. In terms of content, it's wholeheartedly there. It's hollow in a sense of feeling. He seems lost, in that moment, and he's conveying through all these songs that he put out of just him. And this kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm kind of going through with my music, of like putting out stuff where it's just me, putting out stuff where it's the full band. So again, like kudos to you, because you really did give something that connected with me. I don't know if I've heard anyone play guitar like this. I mean, like, and it's not saying that he's like a shredder or like he can rip or he's, mind blowing. He's not Steve Vai or Satriani. Like, it's not anything like that. Bonamassa. He's not Tyler Hood. You know what I mean? Like, he is literally just playing in a way where it sounds sharp and flat and standard, all at once, with these crazy reverb tones and there's no frills either at the same time, like, but it's also not an acoustic guitar. So like I could go on and on about just his guitar playing alone, where it just took me to a place where I was like, how did he do it? Ultimately, I loved it. I do want to go back to the Up Rocks article, because Stephen Hyden said something really, really pivotal in terms of me that really helped me iron out who I think Jason Molina was. And he wrote, quote, "When Jason Molina sings, you immediately discern the peak of his emotions, but there's also a vast body of hurt and longing that exists below the surface, only hinted but always palpable. Like so many Midwestern men, Molina was a master at holding back and letting you know he was holding back until the weight finally crushed him." End quote. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Haydn's about as good as it gets at music journalism, by the way.
Shout out to Hayden for sure. But like, just, I didn't need to read the rest of the article. I did, but I didn't need to read the rest of the article. Once I hit that, I was like, well, that really sums up this music I'm listening to. And this was before I dove into the rest of his catalog. So like to even expand beyond what I was just given and provided, I did take a dive into Jason Molina's considered his best songs. Farewell Transmission. There are a handful of others beyond just what I was hearing. His catalog is crazy. I added so many songs to my January playlist. I make a playlist every month of the songs that I'm coming across, and there are just there's a handful of songs that I came across listening to his catalog. Ultimately, I do need to compare between Jason Molina and Glen Hansard a little bit, and then lastly, I do want to take two songs and just talk about the difference between how they both play them.
Cool.
So these are my last 2 points. I think it's impossible to compare. I don't think I think Glen Hansard has the capability to literally do anything. In terms of, I mean, let's be real. He's really good friends with Eddie Vedder. He's out there playing his own music. He's singing with like legendary artists and doing the damn thing. So you give Glen Hansard a project like this, even if it was or wasn't his choice, he's gonna knock it out of the park. He's vocally a scholar. Songwriting wise, a scholar. Like, the dude doesn't miss. So that's well said. Jason Molina is what's the word? Like, he's not well kempt. Like, he's not together. Like, but it's so unified at the same time, and it's this push and pull between both attributes. Diving into Molina's catalog, I'm just not sure anyone could do his music justice the way that Glen Hansard did. But at the same time, Glen Hansard gave it more rock elements. I think he provided a new style to these songs. But I don't think anybody could do it the way that Glen did it. So that goes without saying. Now, the last 2 points I want to make. My favorite songs. My favorite song is Being in Love, because it says so much. It resonates with me. I don't want to get too sappy or personal, but I was single for a long time before meeting Mariah, my now fiance. We're getting married, very excited. But before Mariah, I was very lost, alone, single, didn't know who I was, didn't know where I was going. And to hear being in love, the way that Molina portrays love in that song, of that idea of like, I'm giving myself to somebody and you know what, it's going to work this time. Like those lyrics crushed me in the best way possible.
Did that inspire your Instagram post today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put the lyrics on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I had to get approval though from Mariah. Shout out, because I was like, hey babe, is this too too lovey-dovey and personal? She's like, it's the way you express love. So do what you need to do.
Yeah.
I love you for it, babe. So Being in Love, favorite song, just overall. I mean, that line, I am proof that the heart is a risky fuel to burn. I cannot get it out of my head, but also the way that both of them sing it. So I listened to Being in Love first by Glen and then again by Jason Molina back to back. 2 completely different songs.
Yeah.
And that's wild to me because it's the same damn song. Being in Love has this like, Jason Molina put this like eerie organ on it, like this like church organ that just like makes you feel like you're in a Leonard Cohen universe, but it's also something you wouldn't expect to hear. Then you hear Glen Hansard's version, and it's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit more rock edge. Like the way that they both say "fuel to burn" is different, and I love that shit. You know that, like, when it comes to the way you convey your lyrics, speaks volumes. Glen saying "fuel to burn," like he does that, like it's a sound that he does with the word "burn." Whereas Molina sings it differently every single time. So the first time he says "fuel to burn," it sounds hopeful, and then it gets more aggressive, more dark, like more like, you know, more gritty. So it was such an interesting portrayal. The way that they both dive into this song, that song alone. The next song that I looked into, listening to both back to back, was Farewell Transmission, because that is Jason Molina's most popular song, and Glen covered it. Now, what's cool about that is they're both different as well. Glen made it a ballad, like an acoustic like ballad, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful rendition. But again, when you hear Farewell Transmission from Jason Molina, you realize why it's such a popular song. It's very, very, very good. And again, not saying that Glen's rendition isn't. It's just completely different. Yeah. So it's just it was a very good assignment. I feel like ultimately you I laugh because I say ultimately a lot. I'm really trying to work on that.
Do you?
Yeah. You pointed it out.
What?
Yeah. We had this real quick. You can keep this in or out. I don't care. I just need to say it. Jason and I had this conversation because we listened back to our last couple episodes, and you know, we had a good time. Yeah. We had a couple beers on that last one, and we're just like letting it all hang out, letting it fly.
Which was a blast.
I'm just dropping F-bombs left and right. But yeah, I had a fucking blast. Yeah, so like, but with that, we listened back to it and realized that we both have habitual phrases that we say. Mine are ultimately and at the end of the day. And yours was really. Yeah.
I say really way too much.
It's been ingrained in my mind. And you know, now all I hear is people say at the end of the day.
People say it a lot.
Every podcast I listen to, every interview on TV, when they say at the end of the day, I go, oh shit, I'm not alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, you got to be you.
You got to really, really though. You really do.
Really do.
Anyway, it was great. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed this project, this assignment. I feel like I am learning more and more about what it takes to be a good songwriter, you know, especially because, again, you have really good music taste. I don't know that I'd be able to just have conversations like this with anybody. So it is like, I'm not trying to, you know, like stroke your ego, but to let you know, like, you do have really good taste, and you really did open my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't realize were out there and that I could learn, and I could hone in on my own craft based off of somebody who had such grace in writing, but such a struggle personally. Yeah. And how they balance that out. So very well done. Love this project. big Jason Molina fan now.
Hell yeah, dude. That's the goal. I knew you'd like it, and I knew that Glen Hansard would be the good gateway. And I gave you probably the least accessible Jason Molina record in Pyramid Electric Company.
I figured that.
Yeah, I needed to kind of like give you a chaser, right, before I hit you, like really, or a back to the potent cocktail that is Pyramid Electric Company.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite for a lot of reasons. It's my favorite of his for a lot of reasons.
Oh,
but,
wow.
Yeah, but I mean, I say that he's one of those where it depends on the day you catch me, right? Like there are I was just re-listening to Magnolia Electric Company, and I was like, fuck, this record just slays me. I mean, it's so good. Every bit of it is so good. But I was trying to think today, how did I get into Jason Molina's work? And I don't have a clear answer in my head because I've been listening to him for a long time. But I think what happened was I was into Will Johnson and Centromatic, and Will and Jason have a record together, one of the last things that Jason made. I don't know if I was already into Magnolia Electric Company at that time. It's interesting to me because usually I can remember the origin story of why I got into an artist. Maybe I was already listening to him at that point and then got really stoked for Johnson and Molina to get together. But I remember following like the end of his life and how tragic it was. Guys, there's just gonna be dog sounds on this.
Dog just slurping that water.
I only get my dogs
I don't know
on
if
the
you can catch it though. I don't know if you can catch it.
Maybe not. Maybe y'all can't hear it. But Conundrum doesn't do anything quietly or
Zero
small.
shits given right now, and I love it.
Yeah, he's the best. I think and this will take us into the conversation about Amigo the Devil as well. I think folks who know me casually or who just work with me or something like that, I have a fairly optimistic, sunny disposition outwardly, but roiling under the surface is...
That sounds like a song line.
Nice. Roiling under the surface is like a darkness that those who know me well, like you, are aware of, that I'm constantly aware of. And I'm in this daily struggle against my fear of death. And Molina makes me feel like it's okay.
Wow.
There's something about Jason Molina's music that comforts me. It's like one of my go-tos. I recently got an Explosions in the Sky record, and I was just thinking the timing of it was interesting to me because that's another band that makes me feel like everything's okay. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing about Jason Molina, you hit on this, which is there's a darkness, but there's also a hopefulness. And sonically, very few artists connect with me like Jason Molina.
Totally.
Everything I've been writing lately on my songs, I'm trying to sound like that. That song that I played, I think you were there the first time I played it, Bury Me in Adair County, about just sort of my coming to grips with my mortality. That guitar part is just me trying to rip off Will Johnson and Jason Molina. I go to the Johnson and Molina record once a month at least.
Wow.
I have a vinyl copy. Sometimes I'll go on a walk and play it.
How many do you have? How many Molina records? Just these two, or do you have more?
I've got those two, and I just got a Songs Ohio record the other day when I went shopping. So I think I just have the 3 now, plus the Hansard covers. But you hit on something else about Hansard, and that is, you're right. I'm not a fan of covers.
Yeah.
I typically would rather hear you play your songs. The only exception, of course, is when someone makes it their own, the way that Glenn does with those songs.
Yeah.
And he does something unique with them where he makes the songs his own while also being very true to the originals.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like
lyrically,
yeah,
melodically, yeah.
And
agreed.
It's an incredible piece of work that the Hansard EP is, and I think that Molina's ability to wrestle with existential questions and questions of mortality in a way that's palatable, and for me, like I said, comforting, is why I always gravitate toward him. So I'm so glad that you I figured you would, and I figured I figured I played it right. Conundrum is wedging
He's like, I
himself.
just want to be real close to you all
Yeah,
now. I
he's-
drink water, and now I just want to like be under your feet.
Yep. And play with this toy. That's attaboy. Nice quiet toy. There you go. That brings us to the conversation about Amigo the Devil. I love this record.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely love this record. Yours Until the War Is Over. Again, another artist who, when, again, if you didn't know me well, you might think, oh, Jason likes Amigo the Devil? Like, or if you knew, if you knew me well, I should say, you might think he likes Amigo the Devil because he's terrified of death, and there's a lot of death in these records.
I did not know that you were an Amigo the Devil fan.
That's cool and interesting. I'm going to tell the story about how I became an Amigo the Devil fan.
Hit me.
And I have a visual for you, and for the folks who might be watching on the Instagrams or somewhere else. This is Amigo the Devil's Volume 1, which has a completely different packaging now. I bought this from Danny himself at a
Will's?
show. Nope. It's got this insert.
Hold on. Let's bring that. I
Okay.
want to bring that up to the camera real quick.
Yeah.
Because I read this before we started. Look at that. It says Orlando.
Yeah, it does.
It says Orlando on it.
So, Amigo the Devil has Orlando ties.
Yep.
Originally from Miami, but lived in Orlando for a while.
Yeah.
And I started hanging out in Orlando in 2013 when I met my now ex-partner in life. And at the time, I was in my early 30s. I was writing about music. She was in a band here in town, and we were going to shows all the time. This one festival, and I think it was the Florida Music Festival, but it might have been Music on Mills. I can't remember which one. And Danny, if you're listening, maybe you know, remind us.
Danny Kiranos, by the way.
Yes.
That is Danny's name. That is Amigo the Devil. That is his name. Amigo the Devil is his stage moniker.
Right. Yeah. So I walk into St. Matt's Tavern, the now defunct St. Matt's Tavern, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm getting into.
What a cool spot, though.
It was the coolest fucking
a
spot.
fucking music venue with pews. I played there a couple times.
It was so cool. And for folks listening, it was like this gay Irish bar, I
yeah,
guess. Kind of
it had a lot of elements to it. It had a lot of.
Yeah.
It was very divey.
Yeah.
Very divey.
It was a really cool spot, just an impossibly cool spot. They would do like theater productions in there too during Fringe. I saw a couple shows there that were theater productions,
Hell yeah, I
one-act
didn't know
plays
that.
and shit. Yeah, my buddy Tommy Lyles, shout out Tommy, was in a play there. So we go in, and there's this dude. For those of you listening who aren't Amigo the Devil fans, I want to paint the picture of what this man looks like. He's kind of an imposing in stature person. He's got long hair, facial hair, a big toothy grin, and like a cherubic face. It's a hell of a contrast because, like, on the one hand, he kind of looks like he could just crush you with his fist, but on the other hand, he looks like he wants you to give him a hug.
That is so accurate.
Yeah. So this is what we're walking into, and he's got a banjo, and he starts playing these songs, these like murder ballady, Southern Gothic with kind of a hint of sort of metal, and just him and a banjo, if I remember this correctly. Next thing I know, he's up on the bar singing about how he hopes your husband dies in this packed Irish gay bar in this music festival. I didn't know what I was getting into. Like, that was my introduction to Amigo the Devil. Okay. Now, it turns out Danny knows a lot of people I know, of course, right? So it turns out like I get to learn more about him, and I ran into him a few more times. I remember at a Lucero show, I was in the bathroom line right behind him, and I was able to like have a conversation with him about how I met him that night and bought that record from him when he played St. Matt's. What an incredible show it was. How it's one of those shows that is, I need to do a Marinade Musings about it.
You
where
should.
I do those little vignettes, because this night, y'all, and I wrote about it. I just now this moment remembered that I wrote about it, so I need to go find that piece, and it's out on the internet somewhere. But this was just the most incredible introduction to an artist you could ask for, right?
Yeah.
So it was funny too, like the the juxtaposition of Amigo the Devil playing this wild show with this incredible energy, jumping up on the bar and singing about these really heavy concepts and burying character after character in his songs. And then the dude that I met afterward, who was just so warm, he was just like so sweet and generous, and he was very excited that I was excited. And I think we took a picture together. See, these are all memories that are now flooding back as I'm talking about this. And now to see, and we've been fortunate to see a few of these folks that like were in our local scene kind of make it. Yeah. But now to see him like opening stadium tours and stuff like that is just incredible. And playing these huge venues. But it's deserved. This record, y'all, is this. I like everything he's done. This is easily my favorite record of his. I did not know much about it going in.
It's your favorite?
Yeah, of his.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a real quick.
Okay.
Though. Is it your favorite now, or was it your favorite before?
No, remember, I had not listened to this record.
You only listened to it once, I believe, when you told me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I had only listened to it once. So, like, I knew, it's one of those we've talked about before, where it came out, I listened, I went, oh, this is great.
Came out last year.
I need to revisit it.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't, because last year was packed with incredible records. And this one, if I'd given it more time, would have 100% made my year-end list. I guess I can go back and put it in. But I just didn't spend as much time with it because I was so distracted by so many other records last year. Yeah. Sorry, everybody who put out great records last year.
So many.
This is another artist that and I love that we unintentionally kind of had a theme again, which is the finding light in the darkness. Amigo the Devil's songs are really intense. There's one about, on this record, there's one about a robbery in a Texaco and a gunfight in this Texaco, and it's really
Nobody wants to die in a Texaco.
Nobody wants to die in a Texaco. What a line. It's just an incredibly powerful scene that he paints. It's kind of ridiculous at times, some of his songs, and yet you're ready to go along for the ride. You're ready to go into this world. Some of it's like so fantastical that you're like, oh, if you stop to think about it, you'd be like, really? But you can't stop to think about it, no, right?
You don't have time.
You don't have time to stop to think about it.
The next murder story.
Yes, I'm Going to Heaven and then plot twist at the end, where he tells this crazy tale of like going to find his wife's murderer in hell, and the devil being like, "Nah, that motherfucker's in heaven," which is also just a wonderful plot device. The idea of heaven and hell and the sort of ridiculousness of the dichotomy of it, and me having grown up in the church and like all of my fear of death coming from the idea of hell and heaven and the dichotomy between them. That song, I was like, this, buddy, is metaphor for everything that I've been dealing with since I was 11 years old. Thank you, Danny. Thank you.
Thank you, dude.
That song hit me so hard. I kept coming back to that one. I listened to the whole record several times. Now, that being said, I will say, Jordan, that I don't know that I can listen to this again for a while.
I would understand.
Like, I think I got to put it down. I will come back to it, and I'll probably buy a copy at some point, maybe even today. But
it coincides with your fear of death. I mean, at the end of the day, like, right? That's really it. Yeah. You delved into your fear. That's like That's like me listening to the Jaws soundtrack over and over again because I have a fear of open water.
Yeah. No, yes. I was living in my panic attack. Right.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. My therapist is going to be really proud of me on Monday.
Doing a lot of work.
She's going to be really proud of me.
Some would say God's work. I don't know.
Or the devil's.
We don't know.
Garden of Leaving is another song that really laid me out. Almost too much to listen to. A lot of loss, and not only just loss, but loss of a child. And that one nearly brought me to tears this morning as I was listening to it again and just kind of like processing loss in my own life. And I had never been through anything like is depicted in the song, but gone through a lot of loss, and especially in the last year. And that one I connected with, even though I haven't gone through the specific thing, right? That universality of music and of great songs where you can transpose it onto your own life and the needs and concerns that you have and the difficulties you're going through. He just nails it with these character-driven songs, these worlds he creates and invites you to come into. And even when they're crazy, even when they're fantastical, I'm there and ready for it and prepared for it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm really grateful for this, for that this is the one that you chose, because I think also one of the special things about it is like it transported me back to that. As much as I've gone through the pain of the loss of my relationship, the time that we met Danny, things were great, and that should be celebrated, right? That was a really cool time in my life where I was writing furiously. And I'm starting to get back to that right now. So the timing of this kind of full circle feels.
Good.
I'm kind of in a similar situation in my life right now. My little 1-bedroom apartment with my pretty nice life, with my good job and my friends all right down the street. And
hell yeah.
you know,
That's me.
That's you. My creative outlets flourishing, and me being very happy in my life as a whole. I feel like this is coming full circle in a way. Accidentally coming full circle, because I look back to that time. Supposedly that record came out in 2018, but it feels like it was earlier than that. I don't know if he didn't release it on streaming services till 2018, because I know my packaging is different. I'm talking about Volume 1 is different from the one that, like, if you buy a copy now or you see it on streaming services, there's a different cover. So I again, just now remembering that I could have gone back and looked up the piece that I wrote back then, but it seems like it was longer ago than 2018. It seems like I was still living in my apartment with my ex right down the street here, and it was just a great time. Like we were going to shows all the time. I was writing about music, starting to write my own songs more frequently, and when I think about that time and then compare it to this time, it's like, well, now this guy is a older, wiser, better guy than that guy was. And this music kind of snapped me back to that moment where things were going really, really well. And it kind of does give me hope, despite the darkness in this record, despite the heaviness of some of the scenes that are painted in the themes. There's still, again, like Molina, there's a hopefulness in the music. And so, really crazy about yours, Until the War is Over by Amigo the Devil. And I am curious why you chose it for me.
What a great, it's, again, so wild that our albums that we're choosing for each other are connecting. It's not like Jason, Earle, and I sit and go, how are we going to pick albums that are going to connect to each other? So I just want to make that clear.
No,
that,
it's all kismet, yeah.
Yes, it is very just on the fly of like what hasn't. Honestly, the way I'm picking, I'll just be very blunt. I just want to pick something you haven't heard, or you haven't taken enough time to spend with, because you have a. Well, let's just be real. You have a bigger catalog than I do. You invest in a lot more records, and so I'm trying to get there. I have a good collection, so I'm not saying that I don't, but.
You're trying to say you don't have the same addiction yet that I do.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Because, again, we talked about this before. The best way you can support your favorite artists is by buying their vinyl. Yep. I mean, you can get a shirt, you can get a hat, all that. Like, it looks cool. Don't get me wrong. But vinyl, it takes effort to have to play.
Man, and I also want to say, like, if I may, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm glad we keep talking about this, because I think a lot of folks listening to this are musicians or do understand the business of the music industry, but a lot of folks don't totally get. I recently have had conversations with people who are huge music fans who do not fully understand just how little Spotify and all the other streaming services pay artists. And I've like pulled it up for them and shown them the numbers, right? And like yesterday I was at our local hang here, the Milk House, Free Pub Milk House, love y'all. And there's a guy playing just playing covers, you know, and he asked if anybody had requests.
Was it Griffin?
Yeah, it was Griffin. Yeah,
I know him.
Yeah, so
he's a good dude. Shout out Griffin. He's living in Nashville. He's doing the Broadway thing.
That's
like,
cool.
He's playing like all the Broadway bars. So
he's been really.
It's an avenue. I commend anybody who has a direction of where you want to go. You want to play music, even if it's not yours. Like you want to go and do the damn thing. He's doing it. So shout out.
I thought it was really cool. Like
he's very talented. Too. So shout out Griffin St. Clair.
I think. Yeah.
Very, very good artist. If you ever find yourself in Nashville, he's from Orlando, but he lives there now. So.
A real sweet guy too, and real engaging. You could I can tell that he does the bar thing because he like really getting the crowd involved, or the Broadway thing, getting the crowd involved. Could play everything from a Coldplay song.
Yeah. What do you want to hear?
Yeah, he's constantly.
Because in Nashville, and I don't know if some folks know this, some folks don't. from Americana Curious, our buddy Zach Schultz and I and his wife, we all walked down Broadway, and he leaned over. I don't want to interrupt you, but he leaned over and he was like, "You ever thought about doing this, playing on Broadway?" And I went, "Yeah, I thought about it." And again, it's not a knock to what artists are doing out there on Broadway, where you're playing for tips. That's the money you make. Mm-hmm. Typically, it's good if you can play the songs. But again, that's like another avenue of music. Going on to what you were saying, connecting to what you're saying about the music industry. So
yeah, so I dropped a 10 in his guitar case and was like, "Can you play some Jason Isbell?" And he's like, "I got you." And he played "Cover Me Up," and he did a great job.
Of course.
But that's $10 that I felt was well spent. I mean, this guy's out there hustling, making his money doing that. Somebody tipped me the other night. He said that that was the first time he'd been in a bar, seen somebody play their music, and was moved to tears. And he tipped me $24.
Hell yeah, man.
And it just like...
It's better than $0.
It's a lot better than $0.
It says it literally speaks volumes. Every time I get a tip, I make sure to be grateful for it. I don't go into any gig that I play, because I do play bar gigs. I haven't been promoting them as much because I'm trying to be an artist. But, playing bar gigs, you do go into it with the hope that you're going to walk away with some tips.
Yeah.
But I'm appreciative of every tip. You value that. So.
Yeah. We lost the thread somewhere. You were saying something. I interrupted.
I want to go on to Amigo the Devil. My response as to
That's
why I chose yours until the war is over. So let's just go back real quick. You literally have almost to a T, just in different locations at different times, a very similar story to how you were introduced to Amigo the Devil as I.
Cool.
Literally almost the same. And that's why you kept seeing me like while you were talking, where I'm just like laughing. It's because it's very similar. I did not know Danny when he was in Orlando. He had already moved to Austin. I believe it was 2020, before the pandemic, when I first heard of Amigo the Devil. Somebody on Facebook posted a video of Danny on top of the Will's Pub bar with a banjo, screaming lyrics with the audience. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And how have I never heard of him? Immediately, I was like, who is this? And I dove full in. I dove head on, where I was like, I need to know this dude's music. I need to know what he's about. Come to find, we have mutual friends as well, because then I learned that he lived in Orlando for a time. And I was like there was like a girl that I like hung out with who was like, she was like, yeah, he was my roommate. I was like, what? Damn, like, how did I not know this guy?
Yeah.
So it's just, there's such a connection to Danny that I didn't like. It's one of those relationships where I wish I knew who he was when he was here, because I feel like we would have been best friends.
Yeah.
Like, I would have wanted to be his friend. Like, that's somebody that you want to play shows with, because he has such an enigmatic energy to him, like, where it's like you said, how you described him, you want him on your side of the team. If you're gonna fight somebody, you want Danny Karanos like on your side, but also he might just try to like calm the situation and hug the opponent and be like, hey man, it's cool, just be cool, do you want a beer? Like, he has that vibe to him, and this is all just on his presence that you can tell. So I did want to just be friends with him, and I was like, damn, what a missed opportunity. But I did become friends with his music, and I dove in, and from The Wait to Hell and You, oh my gosh, the list goes on. Dahmer, like, those songs really helped me get through. Again, it was a layer of like helping me get through the pandemic, of finding new music to sink my teeth into and get somewhere past where we were, to help me get through the time. Yeah. That's what Amigo the Devil's music did for me. Cool. So then fast forwarding, you mentioned, running into him at a Lucero concert.
Yeah.
I ran into this dude at Four in the Strange Band show here in Orlando. Four in the Strange Band, Coleman Williams being Hank Williams III's son. Ran into him there. And then I ran into him at the Ryman. Well, I didn't run into him there. I saw him from across the room while Mariah and I were waiting for merch, seeing American Aquarium.
That's pretty cool.
We were waiting in line for merch to get American Aquarium gear. And I
As
look
you
up, as one would at an American Aquarium show, and I
Yeah.
look up and I go, babe, that's Amigo the Devil. And Mariah's like, who?
Yeah.
I'm like, Amigo the Devil. It's Danny Caranos. And she's like, oh, okay. You listen to him, right? She's like, yeah, I know some of his stuff. And I was like, okay, great. So we didn't say hi. He was like way off he was like further down the line. But like he has this presence where when you see him, you're like, there he is.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah, that's star presence. Like there
Star
are certain
presence.
people who have that charisma about them when they walk into a room. This is a weird aside, but I was just thinking, you and I have been talking about my beloved Jacksonville Jaguars lately, who finally hired a coach that might be competent.
Yeah.
And
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats. A little bit of drama behind
A little
it.
drama behind
A
it.
little bit of drama. The Bucks are not happy.
The Bucks are not happy. It's
Well-
hilarious. We think it's hilarious.
I don't know if I think it's hilarious. My future father-in-law is a Bucks fan, so I have to like be respectful.
So I understand. Off mic, you can admit that it's pretty fucking hilarious.
As a Steelers fan, yes, I find it funny.
But there was one time I was at brunch in Jacksonville at Black Sheep. May it rest in peace. I'm pretty sure they closed recently. And Shad Khan walked in, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow.
And he has
You lose your shit?
No, I was cool, but like, because we all have mixed feelings about Shad. It's a roller coaster with
Right.
Shad.
At least you're still around because of him.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think that.
Do you remember when you didn't have enough seats? Let's not go down this. Let's not go down this rabbit
We can
hole.
pull up the numbers.
No, let's talk Amigo.
We can pull up the numbers.
Make your point. I'm sorry.
We can pull up the
I don't
numbers.
wanna-
Unless you want to.
I'm still bitter that you beat us in the playoffs twice. Okay,
You wanna
I'm
be-
not all right. So
you
let's
want
just
to eat up the
I don't
propaganda,
wanna-
or
no,
we can do numbers.
We
No
have
facts.
just real quick, folks. Jason and I talked some shit about football. This is a safe space.
Yep.
We should get. What's your point? Sorry, I didn't want to
Our
get off.
relationship totally changes when we start talking football.
It
y'all.
does. Because afterwards, though, we're like, love you back.
Yeah. It's all good. But there is a charisma to when Shad Khan walks in the room, everybody's eyes go whoop.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Danny has a similar thing.
That's valid.
They're very different people, I think, but very similar thing. There's that star quality to certain people, and the first time you see Amigo the Devil play, you go, "Oh shit, this is a star."
What a segue. What a fucking segue. So, been a fan of Amigo the Devil music, since volume 1. Everything is fine. Born Against. I mean, Murder at the Bingo Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this segues into why I picked the album. Because I got a preface. I got to give a little backstory. But funny enough, that story was very similar to yours. So I don't have to delve in too much more.
Nice.
I bought this on vinyl because the Amigo the Devil show that I caught at the Beecham last year was my favorite of the year. And I've saw some really good shows. I mean, American Aquarium at the Abbey, that's like a close second, but that's on a more personal level. Like we were all having a moment,
We were all crying together.
me, Jason, Earle, Tyler, our friend Dylan, who works at a brewery down the street. Like we were just like had our arms around each other, just like just crying and
was
all the
really
sad
special.
songs. Like what a moment. But
Yeah.
so I don't take away that. But in terms of like my favorite show, the best show that I saw, very impressed against odds. Amigo the Devil show is the best.
Wow.
TK and the Holy No Nothings opened for them.
Uh-huh.
They were amazing. But then Amigo, who, Jason mentioned this, he's a big dude, comes up with a banjo and plays sad songs. Now he has a full band.
I haven't seen a full band.
And I got to tell you, like, on a personal level, because I've been an Amigo fan for so long, I would love to see him play solo. I feel like I hope he comes back at it where he's like, I'm going on my own a little bit. Come hear these songs in that light, because that is it's a flex, A, and B, it just sounds so damn good. But
yeah.
I will say that band was phenomenal.
Oh, I bet.
The drummer was also wearing a Micah Schnabel shirt.
No shit.
Yeah, Micah
Schnabel.
Micah Schnabel.
Yep.
He was wearing a Micah Schnabel shirt.
Hell yeah.
So those dudes, I don't want to get too far into it. Those dudes used to be in Four in the Strange Band.
Oh.
There's some. I won't get into the
Yeah,
details.
yeah,
I don't
okay.
know all the meat there, but
Okay.
when you're asked to join Amigo the Devil, like, how do you say no?
What are you gonna do?
How
Yeah.
do you say no to that? So
I know.
I won't
Also,
get
as
into
an
the-
aside, the guitar player. David
Yeah.
Talley, I think is his name.
Plays the
And,
telly.
He co-wrote some of these songs, and it was the first time.
Oh, we're thinking of two different people.
Okay. This guy co-wrote some of the songs on this record, and it was the first time that Danny had done co-writes.
Hmm.
So
Oh, this one is?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
yeah.
So that was the best show that I saw. I saw a lot of shows last year. Saw American Aquarium at the Ryman. I mean, I could go on and on about all the cool shows that I saw last year.
Yeah.
This one was hands down the best one. Danny's guitar string broke on his banjo string broke, and he had no backups. His guitar tech couldn't help him, so he played acoustic the whole time. So he had to deal with adversity.
Yeah.
And when you have to deal with that, and as a performer myself, I can see it in his face that he's frustrated. But he did not flinch, man.
Nice.
He had the crowd in the palm of his hand. He knew what he was doing. The band followed suit. He played an amazing show. I was blown away. I was invited to go to a bar afterwards with some of the friends that I went to. And I went home and I told them, because I had to get home because I had worked the next day or something. But the truth was, I needed to process that show. I needed a moment to be like, that was one of the best shows I might have ever seen.
Wow.
Because again, I root for the underdog. Not that Amigo is an underdog, but when you have any type of live music struggles and you can get through it in the manner that he did and blow the roof off of the Beecham the way that they did, it was just absolutely bananas.
Man, it's wild to me to think about that St. Matt's show. Tiny little bar, tiny little venue. It was packed in there. It was definitely at capacity, but still a very small venue. To then all these years later, the Beecham, I don't know what capacity is there, but it's a big room.
It is. And that also coincides with this fact, is that when Danny plays, or when he just goes on the stage, he doesn't even need to do anything. He doesn't even need to say anything. He has that room. I don't know if I've ever seen an artist grab a room the way that guy can. And it speaks volumes.
Yeah.
And that all goes back to the fact that I saw a video of him on the Will's Pub Bar stage, or Will's Pub Bar during his show. And the entire crowd was screaming these lines.
Yeah.
So ultimately,
also, it's a lot of fun to scream.
Yeah.
I hope your husband dies. That's a lot of fun to scream.
And so before I do have a point about murder ballads real quick, but I bought this vinyl not just because I love the album. The album was amazing. It was a slow burn at first for me because the album delved into so much darkness and so much like as you said, like it seeps into these like uncomfortable moments and feelings and things, and you're like, man, like all right, well, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? And for me, when I was listening to it, Stray Dogs hits, and I'm like, I'm back in it, and I'm like, I'm feeling good. Like, not that he lulls you to sleep, but he makes you feel uncomfortable, unsettled, not sure where this is going, and then he hits you with a song like Stray Dogs where it's catchy and it's got this like feel to it where you can dance if you want to, and like you can move, and so that was the song for me. Cannibal Within, a beautiful song about eating yourself alive, basically, like on a emotional standpoint. I don't want to dive in too much about that. You should listen to the song. Highly recommend you just listen to Yours Until the War Is Over on your own.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, I chose this because I am challenging myself this year to write the Great American Murder Ballad.
Hell yeah.
And I wrote that down this morning in my notes. And I might title it the Great American Murder Ballad. I don't know what it's about, but it feels like there's something there. And it's all because there's just, you listen to like Kate McCannon, Colder Wall, right? Probably my favorite murder ballad song of all time. I mean, it's just so damn good. And then you dive into Amigo's entire catalog, and it just like, there's something to telling a story. And it could also be that, like, my fiance Mariah is a huge true crime fan, and I watch murder docs now. That's a thing. But it's like I'm tapping into trying to write music that I haven't tapped into before. So I'm being challenged to do something outside of my comfort zone. Typically, I've written a lot of heartbreak songs or love songs over the years, like a lot about the heart, and I feel like it's because as a songwriter, it's easier to like mold. But when you start tapping into other factors and other elements and like, how can I sing about that and it be good? Danny Carranos does that.
Yeah.
All of his music he found his niche. He knows what he can do. He's one hell of a performer, one hell of a songwriter. Highly, I praise him. I praise his music. Keep going. If you ever have the chance to go to an Amigo the Devil show, go. Do not hesitate. Cancel your plans. Just go, because it'll be an experience.
Have I ever told you my true crime story with the guy I played basketball with?
Yes.
Okay.
You told me. And if you are interested in hearing that, have you told that before on
I don't think I've ever told it on mic at all. It's too close to home, I think, to talk about on mic.
A little close to home.
Everybody wants me to do every time I tell it, they're like, you should do a podcast about it.
Maybe you're setting
And I'm
yourself
like,
up for a YouTube series.
I don't know.
No.
I mean, this is a dude that I like partied with in high school that we're talking
it's
about.
Tough. That's a tough subject.
Yeah, I just think too many people that I like love and care about are connected.
Right.
That it would be hard for me to talk about it objectively
but
or anything.
It wouldn't be a bad idea for a murder ballad.
That's kind of why I brought it up.
Thank you.
The
I'm
other
gonna
thing
write that down.
The other thought I had that maybe we need to edit out so nobody steals this idea. But
Dibs!
but the murder of America by the fascist movement, is that something you've been thinking about?
Why I wrote the Great American Murder Ballad.
Yeah.
Because it's not about writing the best murder ballad.
Yeah.
It's about the murder ballad of our country. So I think I might be, and then as a songwriter, I can like, again, folks, don't take these ideas. If the 5 people who are listening, like, you get inspired, do not take this idea, because I'm really excited to write this. But it's, a story within a story, a song within a song. I'm singing about the great revolution of the demise of our country, while also talking about an individualized story.
Yeah.
So if I can make that happen, that's what I'm going to do.
Dude.
That's a goal. So.
All right, well, tell the people what we want them to do in terms of getting in contact with us and so forth.
Thank you. First and foremost, as always, thank you so much for listening. We're just two dudes who love music, and we have vinyl collections. We also agreed that we are currently in the process. We're going to catalog our shit on Discogs. I have found that a lot of people do that. We should do that.
I'll start today.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna need to. Yeah. We'll start that. So
I should be done by about 2035.
Yeah, I think that'll be something we discuss more as we go along, of like what that experience is, because I had a friend who just told me their record collection, they have under 1,000 records that are worth $32,000. Yeah.
Wait, the collection's worth it?
Uh-huh. Now he does have some pretty wild and expensive value. Like we're talking like he bought a record for like $500. So like he's on another level, but he does have like enough. What I'm saying, so it's like Tyler Hood. This is a good example. Yeah. Tyler Hood, my our good friend, one of my best friends. He's in my band. Tyler Hood added all of his music to his catalog, all of his vinyl collection to a catalog and Discogs, and he found that the Them Crooked Vultures record that he has, it's like German press. Or Queens of the Stone Age, it's like imported, and it makes it way more valuable. So the $25 record that he bought when it came out is now valued at like $100.
Oh, interesting.
So, we're diving into like.
I almost don't want to know because I don't want to be tempted to sell my records. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if I would be.
I do.
Because I have first thing I thought of was I would never sell my Honky Tonk Heroes, period. That's not going anywhere.
Sure.
But like, I have a picture disc, middle brother picture disc. That's like,
I know what you're talking about.
It's like a record store day
Did you get it
release.
at Park Ave?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it before.
Yeah. And I don't think they pressed very many of those.
No, they didn't.
And I have a signed Susto record, that like picture disc, and I'm wondering, some of those I'm like,
I think it's good to know the value that you have, but because like what if you need to someday? Again, going back to the way our country is, what if we need?
Yeah.
What if we need
currency becomes records?
Yeah. I mean, nothing phases me.
I'm in pretty good
anymore.
shape.
Nothing surprises me.
I guess if that's the case,
I
think it's gonna be golden guns, but of which I have none.
Yeah, unfortunate. So anyway, we're getting the what we want to
those guitars and records. We're in good shape, buddy.
Yeah, we would be.
We're gonna be rich.
Yeah.
The demise of society.
In my Star Wars figures.
Yeah.
I know that there's money there. I just got to sit down and do that.
Wow.
Anyway, folks, we love that you're listening to this podcast. We love that you're taking time to just, hear what we have to say, or like if we want to talk about music, and hopefully you hear this and maybe you aren't an Amigo the Devil fan. Maybe you've never heard of Jason Molina like I have, and you do. when you do that, or if you have any recommendations of
Yeah.
music that we should check out, I am a music fiend. So is Jason. I consume music on the daily. New music is like my favorite. I love sinking my teeth into new music. So we have an email address now, Life's Greatest Hits
Podcast.
Life's Greatest Hits podcast at gmail.com. Please go email us if you have any questions or recommendations on music that we should listen to. We want to be able to share, in a moment at the end of every episode, if we can, those questions and talk about those things and make that sort of thing happen. So
Right now we have 4 unread emails. 2 of them are our podcast hosting service telling us that our billing was processed. So you guys fill it with much sunnier emails. Tell us what you want to hear and just get involved with the show. Thank you to Danny over on Blue Sky, not Amigo the Devil Danny, but Danny over on Blue Sky for interacting with the show. We're getting some love over on Blue Sky. We're on all the socials, by the way.
we are.
We have a Twitter, we have a Blue Sky, Instagram, Reddit.
We
We're
don't
on
have a
Reddit now.
Facebook.
We don't have a Facebook.
That's fine. We don't need one.
So yeah, check all that out. And we're gonna do something new today, which is something that I do on my show, The Marinade with Jason Earle. Before we do that, let's talk about the
Let's
records
talk about the next records
that we're
for
about
next week.
to discuss next week.
Yeah. So, you want me to go first? Next week, or for next month, I have you listening to the brand new Earle James album, Medium Raw. Just came out a couple weeks ago. So far, this is my favorite album. So I don't want to dive in too much, but I will say this is unopened. I bought it, and right out of the box,
It's gonna be hard to
I
play
opened
that
up,
way.
and on top of that, he signed it. So it's a signed vinyl, Earle James Medium Raw.
I'm excited about this for a few reasons, and I, of course, will save most of the conversation
Hell yeah.
for next month. But I have seen him live.
Oh, nice.
He opened at the Social. He opened for Shovels and Rope a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it was I was like, and I'm so glad you're doing this
Yeah.
because he's another one of those that I was like, oh
You
shit,
gotta
that's
tap into.
amazing.
Mhm.
I need to get into that, and I
That's
just
a
never
great-
did. You know.
And he has. We'll go into it further down the line, but he has a great catalog. But this album is
Cool.
top tier for me.
I'm excited, man.
What do you got for me here?
Dude, I have Waltzer's Time Traveler. When this record came out a few years ago, it was one of my favorites, maybe my favorite of the year. Waltzer was on my podcast, The Marinade. We had a great conversation. There is a song on there that fits with a lot of the themes we discussed. I Don't Want to Die. And so I'm excited for you.
That was the first song title that stood out to me.
I'm really excited for you to listen.
Hell yeah.
Waltzer's really cool. She and I really connected when we recorded, and
It's great.
yeah, so I'm excited.
I never
for you.
heard of Waltzer, so I'm looking forward to diving in.
Yeah, from South Florida originally.
Hell yeah.
Keeping that theme going. Yeah.
All right.
Sweet. All right, now we're gonna do something that I do on my podcast, which is talk about what we're getting down on. So I usually end conversations with my guests on The Marinade with Jason Earle with a discussion of the art that has them fired up at the moment. What do you want to talk about, bud?
Well, I just thought this would be really cool. Jason's starting Marinade Media and Life's Greatest Hits, starting this podcast. Jason edits. He, puts this together. He really gets he puts this whole episode together. So without Jason Earle's, expertise and already being able to make a podcast and make episodes, we wouldn't be able to do this. So, we are under the Marinade Media umbrella, which is new and it's very exciting. And there's a lot of promise and there's a lot of things that you and I both want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I did want to kind of bring in this tradition.
Sweet, I love it.
Of also it's one of my favorite moments on our episodes of getting to talk about what we're getting down on.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you're probably not going to expect me to say this. I'm really into professional wrestling again.
Cool.
And that's not something that I expected to get into, but I felt the need to kind of say it. Folks, the world is on fire. Our country, it's been a rough week. This is the week where Trump has been inaugurated, and we're screwed. So
Yeah, it's bad.
basically just saying wrestling has been an escape for me since the pandemic.
Cool, man.
When I was, bedridden with the OG COVID in the summer of 2020 for about a month. The only thing that got me through was old wrestling videos from the 80s all the way to the Attitude Era. Just bringing me back to my childhood. If you don't know me, I'm a huge Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. I do believe we pointed this out before on a previous episode. Just diehard Stone Cold. But I'm finding now that the WWE is really blowing up and is on the up and up. Now, granted, some of the storytelling is still a little on the tacky side, but like overall, the action of it, the storytelling of it, the excitement behind it is for me, it's something I'm just really enjoying. I'm going on walks every day and I'm listening to wrestling podcasts instead of music, instead of I'm finding it as like a side thing that I'm getting into. So I just wanted to be able to say that like I'm really into wrestling right now, folks. If you are trying to find something to kind of get away from all the heaviness in this world, maybe check out wrestling. Even if it's AEW, we have a friend, Jackie Stranger, who's a big AEW fan. But WWE, TNA, like there's a lot of fun wrestling going on, and it is a very nice escape.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome, man. We've talked off mic a little bit about wrestling. I was a huge fan as a kid, and my buddies and I in high school. So that would be like the, I guess what you call the Attitude Era.
Oh,
is that when NWA was NWO? Sorry, NWO was big.
Right. The Attitude Era was WWE, but it's the same time.
It was
Monday Night Wars was the thing.
Yeah, there was the time when the
Nitro.
you had WCW and you had what was then WWF competing against each other. Now WWE competing against each other for ratings, and you had Hogan do a heel turn, and now he's done the ultimate heel turn in real life, and all like. But I was the biggest Macho Man Randy Savage fan, and I met the Macho Man in my 20s. I was
so cool.
It was so cool. He couldn't have been cooler. He sounded exactly like you would expect him to sound. He was so nice to me, and it's the only time I've ever been really starstruck, where I could barely get a word out because you grow up with somebody.
Ooh,
yeah. He's like, "Where you from?
Where you from?"
and I fumbled that somehow. I was
man. I would too.
But it was just a lot of fun, and I haven't attempted to get back into it in my middle age. But as a kid, I kind of stopped watching. I guess probably about the time I got to college. Yeah. But we would have on Monday nights we would all get together.
Yeah.
And we would order wings, and
that's awesome.
Probably like 15 of us sometimes, and we'd all sit and hang out and talk shit, just being boys, So there is something really fun about that. That's cool.
Yeah, real quick too. Like I've actually met some WWE superstars. Like I was playing a show with William Elliott Whitmore last year, and Sami Zayn, who is like a current WWE superstar, he just walks in and was like right front row, and the 15 people that were at the show had no idea who he was when I got all starstruck. So I'm tapping into that because it's the entertainment I'm getting into right now.
That's great, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the wrestlers I've met have been really cool. I met Ric Flair once. He was cool.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really cool. Very classy, very just sort of like what you would kind of expect from the character. He was very professional and like took the time to talk to me and ask me questions and stuff.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho, he was really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, met Chris Jericho one time. So we were heavy into it, man.
Yeah.
We would like go to we would travel
to
go see all of the events, and it was a lot of fun.
Also, Italian, the music was really good at that time.
Yeah.
Jim Johnson.
Yeah,
Break
the music,
the walls down!
Yeah, the music was
So good.
That's cool, man.
Anyway, what are you getting into? What are you getting down on
I've been
right
reading a lot.
Hell
so C.H. Hooks, Can't Shake the Dust, I finished recently. He's been on the Marinade with Jason Earle. We're going to try it. We've been trying to link up to do another conversation,
Great.
but he lives in St. Augustine. Great dude, great book. The book's about family of dirt track racers in southern Georgia.
Whoa.
And it's just, he writes these kind of fantastical characters, but this one's a little more rooted in kind of reality, but there's also like an element of wondering if the car might have some mysticism to it. That's never fully, it's just hinted at,
Okay.
it's never fully explored, I don't think, but these characters who are just like trying to make it, and the dad's an alcoholic, and the son is supposed to follow in his dad's footsteps, and his dad was this superstar dirt track racer in their local circuit. who lost his leg in a horrific crash, and the boy's trying to figure out whether he wants this life or not, and he's coming of age, and he's trying to figure out his feelings towards girls, and then there's just so much wrapped up in it, and C.H. Hooks creates these beautiful worlds they're kind of difficult sometimes, but also really true to the people that and the moral struggles that they go through and the challenges that they deal with. And then I just picked up a book that's kind of similar themes, I guess, which is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. And I'd never read her work. Everybody swears by it, and it's just laying me out. Nice. I can't put it down. The narrator is the protagonist, and he is fascinating.
Wow. Okay.
Just impossible life, but he's chugging along, trying to make it, and the way she writes is enthralling. No other way to put it. So I've been reading a lot, man. That's a big thing. And then the one thing that you and I have both been devouring over the last 2 days, at least 24 hours, is that Lucero Unplugged record.
Oh.
It just laid both of us out. We were talking about it all day yesterday.
Talking about it all day yesterday. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of folks who listen to this podcast have probably listened to it. But if you haven't, or if you don't know that Lucero Unplugged record, y'all.
It's like it's like it's like the greatest hits album you always wanted, but stripped, unplugged.
Yeah.
Like it's like taking two elemental styles of an album, a greatest hits and an unplugged album, and combining the two.
Yeah,
and it's so well crafted, so well done, absolutely beautiful. Ben Nichols, Rick Steff,
they both sound great on it.
So good, folks. If you have the chance, go listen to Lucero Unplugged.
Both sweet guys too. Ben's been on the podcast, and when I interviewed Ben, I got to meet Rick.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he was really cool.
Very cool.
And he's done all kinds of shit. Look him up. Look up his Wikipedia page. It is wild what he's been involved in. Yeah.
Yeah, man. We really, we're just two dudes, like I said, listening to some vinyl, and we love talking with each other. We hope you're enjoying yourselves. Thank you so much for tuning in to Life's Greatest Hits, and we'll see you next month.
Sounds great. Thanks for sharing your Life's Greatest Hits with us, y'all.
Cool. Good episode. It was very good. We talked about a lot.
Yeah, we did. Hour and
covered a lot.
Almost 6 minutes.
Holy smokes. Is that too much?